How many years of your life have you been working non-stop, giving away your time, your energy, and even your health in exchange for money that barely covers the basics? Picture this. You wake up before dawn, fight through traffic, spend hours at a job you don't enjoy, and come home exhausted, wondering where all your money went. And when payday finally arrives, most of it has already disappeared. Rent or mortgage, credit cards, utilities, gas, groceries, streaming services, and those little expenses that drain your account without you even noticing. This cycle doesn't just steal your peace of mind, it steals your future. But here is the truth no one told you. It is not the hours you work that determine your financial freedom. It's how you use and multiply the money that already passes through your hands. And the number that can change everything is not huge or unattainable. It's just $100 a month. $100. For some people, that might sound like nothing, barely enough to cover a night out. For others, it might feel like too much because they believe there's no room in their budget to spare. But the reality is that this figure is not random. It's both powerful and accessible. It's small enough that most Americans can set it aside with some adjustments, yet large enough to produce real results when invested wisely. The secret isn't waiting to make more money before you start. The secret is starting with what you already have. With consistency and the magic of compound interest, those $100 per month can become the key to unlocking financial freedom in just 5 years. The tragedy is that most people never try because they believe it's impossible. That belief is the invisible wall separating those who stay stuck from those who break free. Why $100 and not some other number? Because it's a clean, simple, realistic figure. It's easy to visualize, easy to commit to, and within reach for many households if priorities are adjusted. Think about it. How much do you spend every month on things like fast food, Starbucks runs, impulse buys on Amazon, or subscriptions you don't even use? Redirecting just $100 from wasteful spending into investments, doesn't it take joy out of your life? It changes the trajectory of your future. That amount, consistently invested, is not just money sitting in an account. It is the bridge that takes you from today, is financial stress, to tomorrow, is financial freedom, where you choose how and when to work. The most dangerous enemy of financial freedom in America isn't low income. It is the silent thieves of money that most people ignore. Inflation eating away at your purchasing power every year. Credit card debt with 20% APRs that turn small balances into mountains. Buy now, pay later schemes that keep you stuck in an endless cycle of payments. And of course, lifestyle creep. The habit of spending every raise or bonus instead of investing it. Each of these drains turns your wallet into a leaking bucket. No matter how much you pour in, it's never enough. The first step to wealth is plugging those leaks. Only then can those $100 per month become soldiers working for you instead of slipping through your fingers. Look closely and you'll see that the wealthy play a completely different game. While most people work for money and spend it, the wealthy make money work for them. And here's the secret. The game is not off limits. Anyone can start playing it, even with $100. The difference is that the wealthy learned early on that every dollar is a worker. When you invest, each dollar is like sending an employee out into the world to earn more money and bring back reinforcements. That's the power of leverage and compounding. While the majority of people are exhausted from working harder, the wealthy rest while their money multiplies in silence. And the good news, you don't need to be rich to start, you just need discipline and a plan. But setting aside $100 is only the beginning. You need a new mindset. Discipline is the line between those who dream about financial freedom and those who achieve it. Because there will be months when you'll feel the urge to spend that $100 on something fun or urgent. There will be emergencies, temptations, and moments of doubt. And that's where most people quit. True wealth doesn't come from a single great investment. It comes from the decision to stay consistent no matter what. For 60 months, just 5 years, you must treat that $100 as sacred, as non-negotiable. You must pay yourself before you pay anyone else. That habit is what separates those who stay broke from those who build real wealth. 5 years might sound like a long time, but put it in perspective. How many years have you already worked without building wealth? How many more years will you continue doing the same thing if nothing changes? 5 years is nothing compared to a lifetime of work. In fact, it's just 60 small deposits, 60 decisions that could buy you decades of freedom. While most Americans are waiting until 65 for a shaky Social Security check, you could build your own financial independence years earlier. 5 years might feel like sacrifice now, but when you look back, it will feel like the blink of an eye that completely changed your life. Time is both your greatest ally and your cruelest enemy. Every month you delay starting is a month lost forever. If you wait a year to begin, you'll need to invest much more just to catch up. The math is merciless. The longer you wait, the more expensive freedom becomes. It's like missing a train. Every minute you hesitate, it gets further away, moving faster and faster. That's why the decision has to be immediate. Not tomorrow, not someday, not when I get a raise. The line between those who achieve independence and those who never do is simple. The achievers started today, even with just $100. But numbers alone aren't enough. There's another ingredient, invisible but powerful: vision. Close your eyes and picture yourself 5 years from now. No alarm clock blaring at 6 a.m. No boss telling you how to spend your time. Instead, you wake up when you want, spend more time with your family, travel, or work on projects you actually care about. Imagine the relief of not stressing about bills or living paycheck to paycheck. That vision isn't tea fantasy. It is a psychological tool used by successful investors to stay focused when the road gets tough. When you can clearly see the destination, you can endure the journey. Everything you've heard so far is just preparation. You've seen the problem. You've identified the enemies that steal your money. You understand that 5 years is nothing compared to the prize. You've pictured the freedom waiting for you. But now comes the most important part, the concrete method. Where exactly should you put those $100? Which investments can multiply your money in the US market? What mistakes should you avoid, and what steps should you follow to ensure this strategy works through recessions, inflation, and uncertainty? In the next section, we'll break down the step-by-step plan so this promise doesn't stay as words. It becomes your reality. That's where the magic truly begins. Now that you understand the power of setting aside just $100 every month, it's time to turn that idea into action. Dreams without execution are nothing more than illusions. And this is where most people get stuck. They know they need to invest, but they freeze when confronted with the endless sea of financial options: stocks, bonds, ETFs, index funds, real estate, crypto, mutual funds. The variety is overwhelming. But here's the truth. Building wealth is not about mastering every single investment out there. It's about finding a clear, simple path that works and sticking to it with consistency. What we're about to explore is not a confusing labyrinth. It's a straight road built with proven steps. And the first and most important step is understanding compound interest, the invisible force that turns modest savings into life-changing wealth. Compound interest is often called the eighth wonder of the world for a reason. It works like a snowball rolling down a hill. At the top, the snowball is tiny, unimpressive. But with each turn, it picks up more snow, grows larger, and gains momentum. Eventually, it becomes unstoppable. That's exactly how your money grows when you consistently invest and reinvest your returns. Let's put numbers to it. If you invest $100 per month in a diversified portfolio that earns an average of 10% annually, a historical average for the US, But before you dive headfirst into investments, you need to build your financial shield, the emergency fund. No one likes to talk about it because it's not glamorous. It doesn't give high returns, it doesn't feel exciting, and it doesn't make you feel rich. But it is the foundation of everything. Your emergency fund should cover at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses and should be kept in highly liquid, low-risk accounts, such as high-yield savings, money market accounts, or short-term treasury bills. Why? Because life happens, cars break down, medical bills appear, layoffs strike without warning. Without this safety net, one crisis will force you to pull money out of your investments at the worst possible time. Years of progress could vanish overnight. The emergency fund won't make you wealthy, but it will protect your path to wealth. Once your shield is in place, it's time for the second step, diversification. Think of diversification as the golden rule of investing. Even if you're only putting $100 per month into the market, that money should be spread across different asset types. Why? Because no single investment performs well all the time. By dividing your money between stocks, bonds, and perhaps some real estate exposure through REITs, you reduce risk while still capturing growth. For example, you might allocate $60 into a broad US stock index fund like the S&P 500, $25 into bonds for stability, and $15 into a REIT for real estate income. Each portion plays a role. Stocks fuel growth, bonds provide safety, and real estate adds income potential. Together, they create a portfolio that can weather downturns while continuing to move forward. The third step is to focus on investments that generate passive income. This is where your journey begins to feel less like sacrifice and more like freedom. Dividend-paying stocks are a perfect example. When you buy shares in companies that distribute profits, you get paid simply for being an owner. At first, those dividends might look small, just a few dollars here and there, but reinvest them, and those small amounts snowball into bigger and bigger payouts. REITs, real estate investment trusts, work the same way, paying out a portion of rental income to investors quarterly. Over time, your portfolio begins to pay you, reducing the need to invest as much from your own pocket. That's when you realize you've created a second income stream, one that doesn't require punching a clock or answering to a boss. Now let's address the silent killer, inflation. Inflation is the invisible tax that eats away at your purchasing power every year. Even if your bank account shows the same balance, that money buys less and less over time. Keeping your cash in low-yield savings is financial self-sabotage. Historically, inflation in the US has averaged around 2–3% annually, though recent years have seen much higher spikes. To protect yourself, you must invest in assets that outpace inflation. Stocks, with their long-term growth potential, are critical. Treasury inflation-protected securities, TIPS, are another option, adjusting automatically with inflation. By combining growth assets with inflation-protected ones, you ensure that your 100 monthly contributions don't need to just grow in numbers, but preserve their real-world value. But here's where beginners often fail. They fall for traps disguised as opportunities, scams, get-rich-quick schemes, meme coins, or trendy platforms promising 20% returns every month. You see them everywhere, ads on TikTok, flashy YouTube videos, even friends selling the latest opportunity. These shortcuts almost always lead to disaster. The difference between someone who builds wealth in 5 years and someone who loses everything in 5 months comes down to patience and discipline. Real investing is not a roller coaster. It's consistent, steady, and even boring at times. The thrill seekers burn out. The patient investors win. Repeat this mantra. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. What if 1 month you can't set aside the full $100? That doesn't mean you failed. Success isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. If 1 month you can only invest $50, then invest $50. If the next month you can put in $150, do it. The key is that you never stop. Think of it like fitness. Missing one workout won't ruin your health, but giving up entirely will. Wealth building works the same way. Every contribution matters. The compound effect doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. The market doesn't care if you weren't perfect every month. It only cares that you stayed in the game. Another pillar of this strategy is the silent mindset. True wealth doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't show off cars, watches, or exotic vacations bought with debt. The wealthiest people in America live quietly, reinvesting their earnings and building their wealth under the radar. Warren Buffett still lives in the same modest house he bought decades ago. Most millionaires next door drive practical cars and avoid flaunting. Why? Because wealth grows faster in silence. The less you need to prove, the freer you are to build. While others waste money trying to look rich, you'll be building the assets that make you truly rich. So far, you've built a clear plan. Establish an emergency fund, diversify your portfolio, focus on passive income, protect against inflation, avoid traps, stay consistent, and adopt a silent mindset. With just $100 a month, you're laying down the foundation for independence. But this is only the middle of the journey. The most exciting part is still ahead, visualizing how this strategy transforms your lifestyle, your family, and your future. Because this isn't only about numbers on a screen, it's about reshaping your entire life. In the final part, we'll explore the future you're building and show how a simple 100 decision repeated month after month can create not just wealth, but freedom itself. Now that you have the plan and the discipline, let's take a leap into the future and visualize what your life could look like just 5 years from today. Picture this. You stayed consistent, you invested $100 every single month, no excuses, no delays. Meanwhile, many of the people around you will still be trapped in the same cycle. They'll be waiting for the next paycheck, complaining about inflation, hoping for a raise or a promotion that may never come. They'll spend their money on things that vanish. New phones, impulse Amazon orders, nights out they don't even remember. They'll keep thinking that someday they'll start saving and investing. But someday never comes. The difference is you didn't wait. While they're still living paycheck to paycheck, you've created a foundation of wealth that grows silently in the background. They count down the days to Friday. You count the days you now own, days of freedom. The inspiring part is that this isn't reserved for the wealthy or the privileged. It's for anyone willing to commit to $100 a month and stay disciplined. There are stories everywhere. The teacher who swapped her daily Starbucks habit for index fund investments. The Uber driver who set aside $100 from extra rides and built a dividend portfolio. The single parent who cut unnecessary subscriptions and started a Roth IRA. None of them had millions. None of them started with advantages. The only difference was action. They started, and because they started, their futures changed. That's the real power of this system. Ordinary people, extraordinary results. 5 years is just the beginning. By then, you'll already have proof that the system works, and that proof will give you unstoppable confidence. Investing will stop feeling like a sacrifice and start feeling like a privilege. Instead of struggling to set aside $100, you'll be looking for ways to increase your contributions. Because you'll have seen firsthand how fast wealth grows when it compounds. Every dividend, every interest payment, every extra dollar becomes fuel. Your portfolio begins feeding itself, and you'll reach a tipping point. Your money is working harder than you are. That's the moment where financial freedom stops being a theory and becomes your new normal. And if you continue beyond 5 years, the snowball turns into an avalanche. At 10 years, your $100 habit could grow into $20,000, $25,000 or more, depending on returns. What makes this even more powerful is the silence with which it happens. No one will notice when you begin. People might mock you for saving such a small amount. They'll tell you $100 doesn't make a difference. They'll flaunt their cars, vacations, and gadgets while you quietly keep investing. But one day, the tables will turn. When you reach independence, when you can choose whether to work or not, when your days belong to you, those same people will ask, "How did you do it?" And you'll know the answer. You stayed quiet, you stayed consistent, and you didn't fall for the noise. True wealth grows in silence. Now imagine the impact on your family. You'll no longer have to miss dinners because of overtime or second jobs. You'll have the time to attend your kids' games, take family trips, and actually be present. You won't just give them money, you'll give them peace of mind. You'll hand them an example that with discipline and $100 a month, they can take control of their lives. Instead of inheriting debt or financial stress, they'll inherit opportunity. This is more than money, it's legacy. And beyond family, think about purpose. Financial freedom doesn't buy happiness, but it buys time, the most valuable currency of all. With time, you can learn new skills, launch the business you've dreamed of, create, travel, volunteer, or simply rest without guilt. Most people spend their lives trading hours for dollars, but once you master this habit, dollars buy back your hours. You stop living to work and start working to live. That's the real goal. Not Ferraris, not mansions, freedom. Here's the truth. You are at a crossroads right now. You have all the knowledge. You understand the math. You've seen the strategy. You've even imagined your future. But none of it matters unless you act. $100 is not out of reach. It's the cost of dinner for two, a pair of sneakers, or a couple of nights out. The question is, will you keep spending on things that vanish, or will you plant the seed of your freedom? Every month you hesitate, you lose forever. Every month you act, you build forever. The choice is not about money, it's about commitment. Let us close with a reminder from Warren Buffett. Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Your $100 is that seed. If you plant it today, in 5 years, you'll already feel the shade. Wait, and you'll still be out in the heat, grinding, tired, and stuck in the same loop. The choice is yours, and it has to be made right now. Subscribe, hit the like button, and share this with someone who needs it, because today can be the first step toward reclaiming your time, your wealth, and your life. Remember, the future doesn't begin tomorrow. It begins with the $100 you invest today.